Hello, everyone, and welcome to another talk with Kris Kelkar and I. And this time, we're going to actually be talking about Kris's first and new awesome book called Dancing with the Field, bringing joy, passion, and play into everyday life. And as you know, the readers and the viewers know, Kris Kelkar is an amazing coach, longtime practitioner of various different relationship and consciousness practices, mindfulness practices, and really creating a vision for his clients that allow them to be really connected to their themselves, their passions, their partners, their friends, and really just connecting to something larger than themselves, which is going to be the topic of this conversation, which is the field. To be really connected with the field. So before we get started, Kris, how are things going with you? This is really exciting. Tell us a little bit about, the inspiration to write this book, how it kind of got started, and a little bit of your background so people who haven't watched previous videos know a little more about you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Umang. I really appreciate just this conversation we're having. My background is that I was for a long time a very successful serial high-tech entrepreneur. Due to a series of health crises, I ended up retiring from that career back in 2013. And some point earlier than that, probably dating back to like 2006, I've been diving deep with my wife in a lot of personal growth work. And the personal growth work has followed a lot of different frameworks and a lot of different modalities. I sort of turned all of that into a coaching passion as well as a teaching passion. And it's primarily focused around relationship. And it's usually a relationship with people, but I've also done a little bit of stuff around abundance and relationship with money and things of that sort. What I did with that is I actually just started writing. And the writing was really focused around integrating all of the different things that I'd learned and sort of reconciling the differences. And as I started writing, more and more started flowing out. And it was almost like this wellspring that was popping up. It was almost like I was like channeling something that was bigger than me, but it all magically related to the experiences that I had. And so what ended up happening was I ended up with this substantive amount of writing that was based on personal experience, but had this quality of like, oh, this is actually like a framework that people can live by. This was actually a recipe to bring more joy, more passion, more play into everyday life.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, I think most people in our life that we interact with on a daily basis, whatever society or construct we're a part of, whether it's work or our community structure, there's very little space for joy, passion, and play. We're supposed to be sort of fairly mindless robots going in and getting a paycheck and doing our work. And if we show too much passion, we're, too emotional and not having a level-headedness. And if we're having too much joy, then something, you must not be working hard enough.
Something wrong.
Wrong, right? And play, I mean, that's only something that kids do, and then it's time to get serious and busy with life, right? And so a recipe to bring joy, passion, and play sounds like an awesome way to reinvigorate the masses, and most of us could use more of those things in our lives. So that's a great title of the book. And relating to that, Dancing with the Field. So say more about that, because it sounds really cool. And a lot of the people who haven't been familiar with your work, or a lot of this more conscious, higher level thinking, theory, they don't know what that means. So describe, maybe how you do in the beginning of the book. What is the field, and what does it mean to dance with the field?
Sure. Yeah, so in the writing, I actually recognize that there's something bigger than me that I've been interacting with for a substantial portion of my life. I mean, dating back to like high school and stuff. At least those are the big memories that I remember. And interacting with this thing actually has allowed me to tap into a knowing that has gone all the way from saving my life to some amazing experiences in manifestation and creating and surprising things that have happened in my life. And so dancing with the field is really about an acknowledgement of this thing that is bigger than me, that I've been dancing with, in effect. And the reason it's called the field is that it actually is a reference to a relational field. Mm. And where it stems from is that a lot of what I've experienced has to do with relationship. And relationship, not just relationship with my wife and intimate relationships like that, mm-hmm. but actually relationships with everybody. And even how I relate to things in my life, like how I relate to money, for example. Mm-hmm. And so what I found is that this relational aspect actually permeates everything that I've done, and permeates everything that most people do. Mm-hmm. Because it's hard to actually like know yourself without being in relationship to something else. Right. and so the relational field has a lot of qualities to it, which I describe in the book. But that's what I'm referring to when I talk about dancing with the field. It's this field that actually connects us at a level that's beyond our dominant senses. So it's more than what I see and what I hear. It's actually accessed through subtle sensations in the body. And what it does, it connects us at a very deep level. Yeah. And so between two living beings like you and me, Umang, it shows up as us sensing each other's thoughts and emotions. But there's also like this current and this movement in the field that allows me to play even when I'm not playing with somebody else. I can be playing with events in my life, or I can be playing with my relationship to money, for example, or anything like that. And it shows up in desires that I have. It shows up in my relationships with other people. So it sort of permeates a lot of different facets of life. And that's really what the book is about, is kind of how it permeates some of these facets, and how I can shift myself into a state of, from a state of being at effect. Mm-hmm. So becoming a victim to life, where I'm reacting to the things that someone is doing to me or that are happening to me, mm-hmm. into more of a creator, where I'm actually dancing with these things, and I'm putting out there to this field what I want to create, and being surprised by what comes back, because it's not linear. Yeah. I may want a blue car, but doesn't mean I get a blue car.
Right. Yeah. I think what the analogy that comes in, and you mentioned current, is, we're all flowing in a river of sorts, and it has its own flow, and you might want to go linearly one direction, but by allowing yourself sort of to dance with it, you're going back and forth, flowing with the river effortlessly down the river towards where you actually want to go, and towards where things want to go, whether it's people or circumstances, situations. And the happenstances and the coincidences are there if you allow them to be there, serving you, and you down that path that maybe more effortlessly you can get there, rather than staying in control or gripping or holding on or trying to control everything in your life a certain way. And so, when you mentioned one of your experiences.
Well, I mean, before you get there, I just want to talk a little bit more about that. So, a good example of that is, I think everybody has had experiences where we're trying to get something done and it just feels like we're rolling a boulder uphill. I mean, it's just, we're pushing on it and it's just not happening the way we think it's going to happen. And it's taking twice as long and it's taking so much effort to get this done. And that's a common experience. And so I can do that. And I can actually do things and make things happen. But in the framework of this current of the field, I'm actually swimming against the current when I do that. And that's why it's so difficult. If anybody's ever swam in the ocean or in a river or something against the current, it is hard.
I almost got swept out to sea once in Hawaii.
Oh my
I
God,
was in the
seriously?
north.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was not a fun experience because the more I tried hard to go, I still was going backwards away
Yeah.
from the shore, and it wasn't a pretty experience because I didn't know what to do in that moment, but to go faster, to try to go faster.
Right.
And
Right. Or
luckily,
and a lot of times in those instances where I'm swimming and the current is actually pulling me out to sea, sometimes it actually makes sense to swim sideways and not actually go head on into the current.
Yeah, well, that's
And
what happened. I was going to say that luckily
yeah,
I found some rocks on the side and I just said, okay, let me see if I can at least grab onto those and then slowly make my way back. And I was just exhausted. But if I had known that the current was going to go that way, maybe I would have gone to the side to begin with.
right.
And it wouldn't have been so stressful. And
Right, exactly. And that's a great example of dancing with the field. It happens like that in life as well, where sometimes it just feels like we're going against the current. And so, do I want to keep pushing this way and get tired and maybe get what I want, but maybe not, but just knowing that it's going to be a struggle? Or do I want to develop and cultivate the sensitivity where I'm actually in this state of play with the field, where oh, okay, it's pushing against me right now. Well, let me head in a slightly different direction and let me see what happens. Or let me focus on something else for a little while and see if the current changes. And so I can actually dance and play in a way that it makes it fun and easy and there's more joy in it. And
yeah.
that's sort of a good example of the basis for the book.
Yeah, so like someone watching who might be a little skeptical about that and is a very driven person who's had things go their way most of their life, right? And they haven't had things like random occurrences of coincidence leading them towards where they want to go, or health crises where they have to surrender and trust and have faith in something higher. Or they're just very skeptical and scientific and see all of this as, well, I need to make sure that there's something that proves this to be the case before I agree to it. How can one learn to see the difference between this and sort of just giving up, or sort of being a victim of a circumstance, right? Like, so for example, if someone wants to train for a marathon and is like got a specific schedule, and then their body just gets sick, or maybe it starts raining and then they really want to push through, and then they push through and then they get sick or injured as a result. What do you do in those cases where the thought comes, I'm being weak, or I'm giving up, or I'm like not doing the thing that makes me have what I want, because that's what I've been taught, is to push through.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say I know that, right? Like, for so much of my career, that's what I did. I actually got things done. That's part of the reason I was so successful, is I actually knew how to get things done. And especially early in my career, there may have been some sort of unconscious or subconscious playing with the field, but from a conscious level, I was working the whole time. And I would say that, if you're happy doing that, then great. This isn't for everybody. But what it has the power to do is it has the power to shift us from being a victim to being in control, but in that being in control, facing a lot of struggle and feeling like everything is against me and I have to take care of myself, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an isolated existence. Or you can shift into a place that actually has room for support from people, support from events, and so you can shift yourself to a perspective where we actually maneuver and move towards support.
Yeah.
And it's actually not necessarily counterproductive. In fact, it can be more productive, because when I'm swimming with the current, I swim a heck of a lot faster.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm sure people can relate and have their own examples, but I felt there are times where I would beat myself up and make myself feel bad and feel guilty and have shame around actually surrendering to what is, and that itself would be suffering, regardless of the outcome. The fact that I feel that what I'm feeling and what I feel is happening makes me unable to have what I want, and then associating some sort of flaw in myself as a result. It's just suffering in and of itself. And when I finally, when the world or the universe or the circumstances act upon me where I truly realize, okay, I don't really have control. Like, I've done my best and I felt all the guilt and I pushed anyway and it's still not working. And what I considered, like, before all of this work that I've been doing and what we've been talking about, I would say, okay, I give up, right? Or, okay, God, I give up, like, lead me the way that you think is the case. Then once I truly accept that surrender, it just like starts shifting really quick. And you're just like, right. What the heck? Wait, how is that?
Yeah.
And then you feel like you don't know what's going on, but you have to believe that it was just coincidence, because otherwise that means all the work that I've done and all the suffering I've gone through was needless in some way in order to achieve what I want. So that's a reconciling that I'm still struggling with at certain times, especially regarding business and things that require very much like for you to take a lot of action. And so, that balance is something that it sounds like the field and this book is talking about. So do you have more to say around how do you balance the two?
Well, I just want to say that I think that the people that we identify in society as some of the most successful people, the star athletes, for example, or like the big name serial entrepreneurs and successful, moguls in industry. I think they may or may not consciously recognize this, but they actually play with the field because they know when to push, they know where to push, they know which direction to push. Or in the sports metaphor, they know where the ball is going to be before it gets there. And it's not because they look at the court and they go, oh, this person's going to pass the ball to me. They sort of know how the flow of the play is going, how the field is actually moving, and they go to the right place where the ball is going to be. And then they just expect the ball to be there. And so like in basketball, they just literally jump up in the air and expect the ball to land in their hands so they can dunk it. And so there's that flow, and so it actually shows up in the actions of very, very successful people.
Yeah, I think that's true, and like there's a sense of something magical that even watching a person who's just taking over the game, it's not like their will is causing it, but it's almost like, okay, now's the chance, and then suddenly things just happen. And so I think with that we should wrap this up so that it's easy for people to digest. Any last words that you want to say about the book or about what's next for you?
No, I think I just want to say that I sincerely hope that people that watch this video check out the book. If it resonates for them, I hope it has a huge positive impact in your lives. I'm doing this sort of from a labor of love, and that's the energy that I want to hold, and I really hope that you see a lot of benefit from it.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to more talks about this and many other subjects as we've been doing. And I want to say just I want to acknowledge you for the vision that you've created in your life and your coaching business, and you as a person are just such a warm, loving, and giving individual. As I've got to know you for over the years, you've been a huge mentor to me as well, and I really do hope that this creates some new views regarding not just the book, but more importantly, our work as beings that want to change the frequency or the resonance
Yeah.
of where people interact, to get rid of the cynicism and the doubt and the negativity and this feeling that this thing that is brought on by fear and anxiety in their life is true versus all of the abundance that is possible and the positivity and the transformation that's there for them, if only they opened up to that possibility a little more, and of course got the support that they need. So really appreciate that. So with that, have a great rest of the day, and
Thank you.
I will interact with you soon.
All right. Thanks a lot,
All
Umang.
right,
I
we'll
really appreciate it.
post the link on the below in the descriptions. Check out the book on Amazon Kindle and also Barnes and Noble soon. All right, thanks, Kris.
Great. Take care.